Hello, everybody. I guess I'm a minute early. Uh-oh. I hope everybody's doing well today. This is Sow and Tare live chat. We do this every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So 6 p.m. Pacific time. So the way this works is I read through the comments. We get to a topic. We'll work with that topic. We'll talk about it. So if we're talking about something, you want to talk about something else, go ahead and put your comment in the comment section, and we'll get to that topic. And then somewhere in the middle, I always have a topic of discussion, unless we get to it first. And then we continue with the chat. So welcome. I hope everybody's having a great day. And let's get started. So if you're going to put something in the chat, please keep it family friendly. And let's see where people started. You guys are always here before me. All right, Aaron. Hey, Aaron. Welcome. First comment. Good evening, everyone, he says. Good evening. Dawn. Welcome, Dawn. She's saying hi. And Vase Place. Good evening, Aaron and Dawn. All right. She got the 5th like. So Vase Place is my moderator. She is a great person. And she also has her own live chats on Saturday mornings and Wednesday midday. So check her channel out. Thank you, Vase. She's Verna. All right, everybody saying hello. A great night this will be, Vase Place says. I sure hope so. Anybody see the moon last night? I know I'm not even to the topic yet, but oh my gosh, it was huge coming up over the hills here. Hey, Ed saying hi, Verna, everyone. Hey, Ed. Glad you could make it. And everybody saying hi. Aaron says, it has to be better than my weekend. Uh-oh. Well, Christina had a worse homesteaded weekend than I did. Oh, my goodness. You guys are going to have to share. I am sorry. Hopefully it's something that was solvable. Yeah. We harvested quail. That's what we did. So that's that. They're in the cooler still. You hear me good? Good. Thank you, Vay. Ed Got Bait says freeze dried mandarin oranges are good but strange. So are they strange because they're not juicy? Are you rehydrating them, or are you just eating them as snacks? I would think that it would be weird because they aren't juicy. I don't know. Hey, Steve's here. S.O. Swanson. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome. Yeah, Vase Place is saying what happened, Aaron. I think we all want to know. Everybody's saying hi. Aaron says, long story, so I'll give the short version. Our female potbelly pig delivered a litter on Saturday morning. Christina was home alone. Oh, hopefully it was okay after all. Hey, Christina's here. She's Guidro's Urban Homestead. Hey, y'all. Welcome. And how are the piglets? Vase Place says, I also want to know. Aaron says the big meat pig busted out of his pen as trying to get into the small pig cage. The neighbor had to come help and put the pig down. Oh no. Wow. Butcher time at the farm, as Steve says. Wow, that's big. Hopefully things are all settled now. That's a big one. I don't have things like pigs here. Although I have experienced them, the feral pigs, the wild boars here. I have experienced those in the field and seeing and hearing them through the tall grass. And I know I don't need these right now, do I, guys? I know at least in my area, we don't have the javelinas. They're not those ones, but they are the feral hogs is what they are. They call them wild boar. But and it only takes a few generations for them to start growing, the big hair and the big tusks, and it's amazing. And I mean, the moms are really good moms. They protect their babies. But I'm a wildlife biologist by trade, and when I did my master's research, I would be out in the grasslands, which has wild oats, which can get quite high, and I was looking for badger burrows. And so badgers is my, you guys see my badgers? Badgers are my species that I studied, and I was looking for their reproductive dens, and I characterized that in Central California grasslands. So I was out in the field a lot, off trail by myself during this time, and you get to learn your senses, and you get to learn what to pay attention to when you're by yourself. And one is the sound of pigs. If you can hear pigs and you can't see them, you should not go anywhere. You should go, away from them, because they can actually spook and go towards you, and they're very protective. So if you can see them, then it's a little better because you can see what they're going, what's happening. But there was a time where I heard pigs moving through the grass, and they were not that far from me. I just froze. So, yeah. But I know they can get ornery. But that being said, I have not really dealt with domestic pigs very much. I have a friend who, when we were little, she had pigs. She had a potbelly pig, and she had the big pigs, beaten. I don't know what they're called, the big meat pigs. And they had piglets, and I know one time the piglets got out, and we had to chase them all down. So that's my pig experience. Yeah. So Kristen says, it was an unplanned butcher day. Hopefully it was at least like big enough. I don't know. Was it a breeder, or was it a one that you were growing up? Yeah. What kind of tea is that? This is chai. I don't know what kind. Stash? Yep. I am working towards drinking all of my tea. I'm working towards drinking all of my tea that is in bags already, and growing all of my own, except I will keep chai because I do like chai. So I'll have chai, and throat coat is another really good tea. It's medicinal. I wouldn't use it except for as in a medicinal way, but it has the slippery elm in it, which is really good for the throat and all that. So those are the two teas that I want to keep, and then like store-bought. And then the other ones I really want to, I have a goal of, once I drink those, growing my own. The thing is, people keep on giving me tea. So I'll drink it. Yeah, I don't like jasmine tea, and I don't like green tea or chamomile tea. There's something with chamomile. I know it's good for you. I know it's like has really good properties, but there's something in it that I think I actually have like a sensitivity to. And I don't know what it is. It's just I don't feel right after I have it. So I know I have a sensitivity to bell pepper, which you don't want to be around me if I've had that. But yeah, my goal is to grow all my own tea except for those two types, and we'll see how long it takes to get there. I actually have a playlist. It has nothing in it yet. Nothing in it. It's blank. I have a playlist that I have plans for on my channel for a tea, a whole playlist. So, because I do herbal tea, not like the tea plant tea, but I do herbal tea in the yard, and a whole bunch of different things. And so that is on my plans. There is a playlist. It has nothing in it. I don't know if you guys can even see it. Anyway, that's what kind of tea I'm drinking. I went off on a tangent, huh? Thank you, Verna. Can you borrow some bacon? I think you have to cure it before it's actually bacon, right? I don't know. Is it still called bacon if it's raw? These are things I don't know because I don't do pigs. Aaron says, we butchered him, Steve. I wanted to wait a few more weeks. I guess he was ready to go camp. Okay. So a few weeks, how much would he have weighed? How much more would he have weighed? Like how much meat do you think you're missing out on by butchering early, I guess is the question. And really, if you don't have to deal with that pig, and that pig is an ornery pig, it might be okay. Yeah. Steve, coming over, get some. Aaron, you keep telling people to come over. We're all going to show up one time. Ed says Mandarin oranges are like hollow husks, but great flavor. If you try to rehydrate them, they will not come back to original. All the cells pop. Okay, that makes sense because the little tiny cells. You could make a powder of that. Maybe that would be like your own tang. Have you ever tried that? You should try that. Try it, like, see if it's your own tang. You guys remember tang? Yeah. Dawn says wild boar was under my bedroom window growling at 3 a.m. We got up and went out to see what it was. I was barefoot and it had fangs and drool, and I took off with the flashlight, left the hubby with it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's not good. When people ask what's the most dangerous animal out there, what's the scariest animal out there, number one I say is people, because we are, and number two is pigs. Those are the only two things I'm concerned about when I'm out in the field by myself. Yeah, those are the number two, or the first and the second. Vase place, it's exactly what I just said, Verna. Ed, they are great to make a powder out of. Yeah. Okay, 350-pound pig is what it was, a butcher. Survival of the fittest. Steve, I guess Steve is saying that you're more fit than your husband you left behind, I guess. You got there first. But hey, if he dealt with it or if he got in, he's just as fit. Guido says he lost his marbles when he smelled the female delivering. Okay. Thankfully, our neighbor is a cop and good with firearms. She feels like a whole farmer now. Well, maybe you'll get her to come over and help out more. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I've heard that pigs, when they smell blood, go crazy. So I guess that's right. I guess that's what happened. Do you think it was because it smelled blood or because it was a male-female thing? I don't know. Dawn says IDNR, that's the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. I know that because I worked for them at one point. Across the street said that they are not in Illinois. Then the babies came out of the soy field a few feet from my porch. They were so cute. Yeah. Yeah, they're in a lot of places, and they travel really far. So if they're in the state next to you, they're probably in your state too. Yeah. Don says took IDNR 20 years to admit that they're here. They likely knew they were there and they just didn't tell anybody. That's yeah. Verna says if you are allergic to ragweed, then you can't drink chamomile. I don't know if I'm allergic to ragweed. That's something in the Midwest, right? Is that no, I'm thinking goldenrod. I don't know if I'm allergic to ragweed. The only allergic response I've had to plants so far that I know of, like from a plant perspective and not from eating, is tamarisk. But tamarisk is salt cedar. So, but it's only the one in Death Valley. None of the other varieties that I've come in contact with do anything to me. But I definitely, that was my one and only allergic reaction. And it was just like stuffed up, eyes puffy. It was just that reaction, which I've never experienced before or since. So yeah, I don't know if I'm allergic to ragweed, but maybe I won't now that I I don't know. I think it's a sensitivity. I can have it. It doesn't like do anything to me other than make me feel like, maybe not. Hey, Andy Rabbit's here. Hello. Vase Play says, hey, Andy, how are the babies? I want to know. Everybody's saying hi. Yeah, Dawn says, Vase Place, that is right. It's an allergy. Could be. Yeah, and I don't know at what point a sensitivity becomes an allergy, or if it actually is an allergy and it's just a minor allergy. That's what I'm assuming. But yeah. Aaron says he wasn't waiting on the meat. I was waiting for freezer space. Okay. Well, you guys have a pressure canner now, right? How much of that bad boy is getting pressure canned? You can pressure can pork, but you should not pressure can ham. There's a density issue. And that's all I know about it. And I've never tried to do either one. But you could also make your own ham. You could hang it. You don't have to have a freezer if you hang it. Also, I don't know how to do that. Other people have done that. I have not. I just know you can. Have you made ham before? That's a good question. Have you made your own, hung your own ham? Andy Rabbit says the babies are doing good. Good. Steve says my freezer can be half empty. Can be or is? You're gonna empty it out for him? Yeah. Vaseplay says wonderful, Andy. Aaron says we have Rock Hill Homestead visiting in a few weeks. I wanted to make a video butchering the pig. Oh, right. Well, maybe we can tell you if you did it right. I've heard of that, and I'm trying to picture Rock Hill Homestead. I'm trying to picture who that is. I don't know. Andy Rabbit says my eggs are shaking today, but no babies yet. Aw. Well, at least they made it through the couple power outages. Dawn says that wild boar looked like a monster in 3 a.m. dream. Man, yeah, it's besides people, it's the most dangerous animal in my opinion, for sure. Oh, Esso Swanson says, Andy, are you sprouting yet? And Vase Place says, I just put my microgreens under the light tonight. Awesome. I have not. I have seeds to sprout, but I actually ordered some alfalfa sprouting seeds because I do like those. So they are coming in my Azure standard order tomorrow. So I will have those tomorrow and start some sprouting for that. It's been a while since I sprouted. And I still haven't sprouted lentils. Who said lentils? Was it Dawn? I don't remember. I still haven't done that. Guidro says, I think there was a combination of the blood and female. We'd never had issues with him before that day. Yeah. Okay. Dawn says, I ran the fastest and didn't say anything to him. I was just gone and in the house before he knew it. You didn't say anything? Goodness. You better at least say, come on, or get out of there. Yeah, so Verna's saying sensitivity is a mild form of allergy. Yeah, I would think so. That makes sense to me. Guido says, we just make a lot of sausage. Yeah. Essa Swanson says, YouTube channel Holler Homestead is curing hams and having them hanging from their kitchen ceiling. Yeah, so I know Sow the Land did that. And I don't know if he did an instructional video or if he just did it. I know that he was doing it in his kitchen as well. Andy Rabbit says, Steve, I will as soon as I dig it all out. All right. Ed says that boar would have looked like a ham sandwich in my 3 a.m. dream. Uh-oh. Both on track. All right. Jello is great in the freeze dryer, Vase Place said. So a couple weeks ago, Ed had done Jello bites. And now Verna just did it. I think you did it on Saturday, right? Yeah. Dawn says, I harvested 1 gallon of pea shoots off one small tray today. Awesome. Do you use the pea shoots like you use like you would use sprouts, or do you use them in a different way? I would imagine that you would use them much like you would use sprouts. But I've never done that. Love it, Steve. Andy. Dawn says, yes, Katrina, and lentil sprouts, my quail love them. Okay, it was you. Yeah, I thought it was. I just haven't done it yet. Ed says, Verna, I like it. Probably would have been better if I used regular Jello, not sugar-free. Well, I mean, if you get used to it, though, you could do sugar-free, right? So I would imagine, so Jello has the gelatin that's in it is really good for your joint health. And I mean, the sugar's not, but the gelatin is. And so I wonder if that is probably a good little snack to have, just to kind of almost like a vitamin, except for the sugar and food coloring. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, so my power outage lasted about 1.5 hours. I was fixing to move the incubator to the van. My hubby opened the door and power came back on. The heat didn't drop by much. I think all is good. Well, yeah, if you have rocking eggs, then at least some of them will hatch. And if you let us know like how many hatch, and maybe if some developed, not fully, but an hour and a half, I think you should have been fine, as long as it didn't drop like too fast, but I think you got those blankets on really quick, though. I think. So anybody that's listening, Andy Rabbit has quail in the incubator right now that are hatching, or they're about to hatch, and she's had 2 power outages throughout this hatch, and one was early on and one was, what was it, Saturday? Was it Thursday? I don't know. It was this last week, right? And so she put blankets on like as soon as the power went out, and that's what you're supposed to do if you have an incubator. It's holding heat and it's holding humidity, but if the power goes out, you need to keep that as stable as possible. So try not to open it, put blankets over it, let it do its thing. If it's in there for more than, I don't know what time period, but if it's there, you need to either plug it into the car, which is what her plan was, or if you have those hand warmers, you can crack the hand warmers and put them inside the incubator, cover it all back up. And it sounds like she did everything good, and hopefully everybody will hatch. Yeah. I gotta go back. Vaseplay says, yes, you can use pea shoots as sprouts, or you can hydroponic grow peas. Okay, cool. Dawn says, Ed, we were told they aren't here, so I hear it and see the thing in the dark, and all I saw was some kind of monster. We're talking about the pig. Looked like it wanted to bite me, and I was barefoot. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, you prove they're there. Steve says you can have a little sugar in October. A little? I don't know what's happening in October besides like Halloween. Andy Rabbit says, if these eggs hatch, I'm going to recommend this person to everyone. Awesome. Don says pea shoots can be stir fried. Okay, that's a good use. Or like tonight, I put them in soup. Yesterday, I put some inside burritos. Awesome. So like a little lettuce topping or a little sprout topping. Awesome. There is 3 moving today, Andy Rabbit says, the little eggs. Awesome. Good luck. What day are you on? What day is this? Because another thing that can happen, I've heard, is when you have power outages, it can extend your hatch a couple of days. So it'd be interesting to see what happened. Vaseplace says, happy hatching, Andy. Vaseplace says, it was Saturday, Katrina, during my live. I remembered it was during a live, and I couldn't remember if it was during yours or during Chris's on Slightly Rednecks. I just remember that it happened during a live. Yeah. 11:30 a.m. on Saturday. Okay. And it was out for 1.5 hours. Yeah. Oh, it stayed above 95. That's good. Dawn says, Andy Rabbit, you also heard chirping too. Did you hear chirping today? Sorry, guys. My the end of the table is like this, and it moved. Wow. The moment my heart stopped. All right, I'm going to bring up the topic of the day, which has nothing to do with pigs or baby birds. I want to talk to you guys about worms, the good kind. Oh, yes, you have heard chirping. Okay, they're almost ready to come out then. Probably going to wake her up at 3 a.m. with chirping. Yes. Yeah. Good. So I want to talk to you guys about worms and worm composting. So vermiculture. And I wanted to see, let's see, we have 11 people on here, 10 likes. Somebody's missing. They haven't heard anything good yet. So we have 11 people here. Just go ahead and let me know if you have used worms in the past, the red wigglers, for vermicompost or not. I'm just kind of curious what your experience has been. I know I have like one video out there on vermiculture. So Andy Rabbit, I'm guessing you say yes. Anybody else? I'm not going to sleep tonight. Oh, that might have been a yes to that. Nobody's knows what I'm talking about yet, huh? So the reason why this is a topic is because my neighbor is wanting worms. So you have heard of them? Good. And I need to get her some worms, and we just haven't met up to do that. I put all my worms at the bottom of the lake. Not the same kind of worm, Steve. All right. So let's see. Guido says we haven't done worms. I don't want to start another project. Andy Rabbit says don't get them too dry or too wet or too hot or too bright of light. Yes. Dawn says, Andy Rabbit, all my hatches have always done like starting come out 10 midnight. I just go to bed because I want to see them in the morning. Yeah. I'll be getting more worms this spring, Andy Rabbit says. Awesome. Truck 3 Warden, welcome. We used to keep them in the summer in a bin in the ground for fishing. Oh, a bin in the ground. Okay. My mom actually does that. Not for fishing, but she was a kindergarten teacher, and they had a worm unit, and she kept them in her compost pile. Don says, my yard is full of earthworms. Well, night crawlers. When you shine a light on the grass at night, all you see is worms. Vase Place says, Katrina, in my place in Oregon, Ohio, my front yard used to look like a living thing in summer nights. Turned on the lights and found out massive worms. Wow. Okay, most of her hatches have been early morning. Okay, so pretty much people have worms. It sounds like a lot of earthworm stuff. I just want to bring up the red wigglers, and those are worms that you can have. I mean, you may have them in the garden. I have them in my garden because I got tired of digging out every single worm out of the worm castings before I put it out there, and I got most of them, and they can go live in the garden. But these are worms that compost for you. So all of your kitchen scraps can go into the worm bin, except for a few things. And the things to avoid are things like citrus, and I believe I was looking this up a while back, so I don't remember exactly, but I believe it is really the peel part of the citrus. I mean, why would you throw? I don't know. It might be the rest of the citrus, but in the peel, you know that when you peel an orange, that spritz that happens, there's an acid in that they really don't like. They don't like to go near it at all. So that's something to avoid is citrus, and then alliums. So that's garlic and garlic, chives, onions, leeks, that kind of thing, because they just don't eat it. And I don't know what the reasoning is why they don't eat it, but they don't eat it. Thank you, Verna, for putting there's a link to buy them on Amazon, red wigglers. Yeah, so if you have those, then they won't eat it. Something else that isn't like on the list, but I have experienced is I've used a French plate and done ginger, and then put the fibers in there, and that actually ended up molding. So I don't do that anymore. in their little worm house. And then no dairy, meats, or bread. So in our home systems, it doesn't get warm enough to compost those things anyway, and those are things that the worms are not going to eat. So that's generally it. Everything else in your kitchen, you can put in there, banana peels and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of these things you can also feed to your quail or your chickens, but if you're wanting really, really rich soil, worm compost is really, really, really good for that. And so often when I have like a bunch of leftovers, or if I've like processed some apples, I'll put some apples in there and I'll give the peels and stuff, and I'll put some of it in there and I'll give the animals some of it. So I split the difference. The worms definitely don't get as much as they used to, which is fine. And they will regulate their population so that they have enough food for the ones to feed. That was a really poorly structured sentence. Whatever space they have, whatever food they have, their population will grow to that limit. So that's something to think about. So I forget who's on here. Was it Dawn or Andy? One of you guys said not too wet, not too dry, all that stuff. So what I actually advise people to do, so if you buy a kit online, it has the little house thing. I really like the old style, and I can't find it. I don't know. If you can find it, find the old style. The old style is better because it has less space for the worms to go out, and less space for air to dry things out. So basically there's towers out there, there's bags, there's different structures of ways of doing it, and you can make your own. You can put Rubbermaid on top of Rubbermaid and have a spout on the bottom. So basically the parts that you need to start is some sort of substrate. And if you get a kit, you get coconut coir, you get this, you get that. You're told to use like newspaper on the top. Honestly, what I would do is I would throw some just soil in there, whether that's a planting soil or soil from your backyard, like just something that's going to maintain moisture. Because if you start with just the coconut coir, it's going to dry out, or it's going to get too wet, or it's going to not quite hold right. You can still incorporate that, but I would use soil. And you don't need that much to start, but that will give them some place to to go and live and breed and have their egg casings in there, and then you can start adding things. Now, something that I tried to do when I started doing worms is I was like, I'm not going to spend money on a paper shredder. I'm not going to do that. Like, that's worthless. Honestly, if you're going to use paper as your browns, get a paper shredder. If you have enough other things like leaves and stuff like that, then you don't need paper. You can do it outside. You can do, instead of having a vertical system, you could do a horizontal system where you slowly move them in one direction and then you move them in the other direction with the food. And I'm not going to get into all that right now, but something you do need to keep an eye on if you're in a system that's plastic and hard and all that, is that there is something called leachate. And it is basically all of the liquid portions of the stuff you put in it, and we call it worm pee, right? But it's all of the liquid components that comes through all of that substrate, and it needs to go somewhere. So you put a spout on the bottom. I always have it open, and I have a little trash can is what I use underneath it. You can use a little bucket or whatever. And I always keep it open because that way I know that it's not saturating the rest of it. It's not saturating the substrate for the worms. And then once that gets, usually once it gets too full, I put it out. But you can use that leachate on things like your trees and your asparagus and stuff like that. I don't know that I would put it full strength on a garden setting, but your permanent plants are going to be able to handle that better, then I always rinse out the bucket, fill it up, and then put that bucket of water on where I just did it, just to kind of thin it out a little bit, even though it's not thinned out mixing it, but it does the same thing. So that's pretty much what I do. Every time I add food in, I add shredded paper, and it should be like equal amounts. And it will take you, if you're starting new, like Andy Rabbit, if you're just starting, then you it might take you a while to figure out what that balance is. But once you get enough material in there and you get that moisture perfect, then you'll be fine for the rest of the time. And I know Verna put a link there for buying them. You guys can find them locally. I'm pretty sure someone in your community has them. I would put out a wanted thing on Nextdoor and Craigslist and stuff like that, and see if anybody in your area has them. I mean, the worms that I got came from a friend, and then his worm colony actually got to, I don't remember what happened to it. I think it got too much moisture. I think like the lid got left off and gutters. I don't know what happened, but his colony basically collapsed, and then I was able to give him worms back. And I've given worms to people in my neighborhood as well. And so I bet that you either know someone that has worms. It sounds wrong, or you will know someone who has them, and it's probably going to be really, really a lot cheaper for you to make a friend with worms than it is to get them online, because I know they can be really expensive. And when you get them from a friend, you ask them to have some of their substrate with it, and then that will be a more successful transition. Because worms don't have skin like ours. Their skin is, things pass through their skin more readily, right? So if it's acidic or if it's basic, they're gonna feel it. So if you bring a little bit of their system into your system, then it's going to be a lot easier transition on them. And also, then you have made a friend locally that knows worms, knows how to take care of them. If you have an issue, you can call them. Maybe trade them some quail eggs. I'm saying that because most of the people in the chat have quail. But maybe you can barter or switch, and you might even not have to buy them. So that is pretty much what I wanted to share with you guys. And again, this topic just came up because my neighbor has been bugging me for worms and we haven't connected. So if you're watching, I'm going this way because your house is over there. If you're watching, I'm bringing them tomorrow. We'll see if she watched this. All right. So I know you guys have been talking, so I'm going to go back up and see what you guys have for discussion. We can clarify, we can talk. But it's a little bit different. We've been a little, I guess this is still an animal, but we've been a little meat animal centric lately in our conversations. So, and a little bit of grafting stuff, but I just wanted to bring up different topics because I know that a lot of people come here to get a different kind of education. And if I said something wrong, please correct me. Always nicely, please. But that is, I just want to share my experiences. So here we go. I gotta go up. Andy Rabbit says my dog would help me dig worms before she got poison. 5 years ago, she's still alive. Good. I'm glad she's still alive. Dawn says I have red wigglers in the garden too. Did you put them there or did they show up? Andy Rabbit says they don't eat citrus. Correct. And red wigglers are different than earthworms in a lot of different ways, which I don't really want to get into right now unless we have lots of questions about that. And yeah, but they don't do the same things. Both are good for your garden. You can buy red wigglers at most bait stores or Walmart in sporting goods. So bait stores, at least the ones that I don't fish. I like to watch fish, but I don't like to eat fish. But I know at least in Oregon, when my mom was looking for both types for her kindergarten lesson, the bait shops did not have them. So it might just be your local bait shop that has them. Because I don't know why someone would use that as a bait unless they physically had their own worm farm and they just had extra that they wanted to sell. That may have been it. Yeah, but that's check there first. Let's see. Dawn says those red wigglers are expensive. Exactly. And that's why I wanted to tell you guys to check out your local area and see exactly see if you can find someone that has them, because I'm sure there is someone in almost every community that has them. Yeah. This place says, hey, wonder how they will do on quail droppings and wood chips. I don't know. You're talking about red wigglers. As far as I know, they are not manure worms, but that is something that I don't know anything about. I don't know if anybody has tried that. The thing that processes manure that I know about is the black soldier fly larva, and those are active when it's warm. So I know some people have done black soldier fly like colonies, and they put a heat mat underneath it, but I have not done that yet. I have the stuff to do it, except for the animals. I just haven't done it yet because time is something that's valuable, and I don't have very much of. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, yes, Dawn, they are pretty pricey. Yes. Steve says, do you use the liquid moisture from your worms or just wait for the total compost? So I use it as I need to dump this now situation. You can use it for you can, mix it with water and aerate it and thin it out and use it in I know of people that have sprayed it and used it as a topical, just how people do compost tea, make compost tea out of it. There is some different chemical or acidity level type stuff in it, and I don't know much about that. I just know that I have safely put it underneath my trees, and then I do thin it out, by putting another bucket of water down, and the trees have been liking that. So that's what I do with it. You could use it in more of you would have to thin it out. Like if you were to use it on your garden, I don't know of anybody who uses it directly on their garden, but I would think that you could either do a compost tea with it or thin it out, and I think you would be able to use it there. It is a highly nutritive thing, so that's why I'm saying I put it under my fruit trees. I usually do it under the citrus for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah. Good question. And then the compost, when it composts down, if you're a beginner, so like Andy Rabbit, you said you're going to start. I don't know if you've done it before, but when you start, you're going to be like, it's done. And once you think it's done, it's not done. Wait, and you'll see, and it will you won't be able to see anything that you identify, except for maybe avocado pits. Avocado pits and avocado peels and mango pits, they break down a little slower. But everything other than that, you won't be able to identify. So if you can still see scraps of paper, if you can still see other things in there, then it's not ready. It should smell like really good earth. You should be able to put your hand in there and not even thinking that it's worm poop, right? Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, I have 3 natural worm bins. Okay. Like in your garden. So some people do like a chicken wire thing in their garden bed where they put scraps and leaves and stuff, and then the worms are free to go and come and go as they please, and they can fertilize that whole bed. I have a friend who tried that, and I don't think he's doing that anymore. I think he put a bucket with a bunch of holes in there. But I know of a lot of people that do it. And yeah, they work. Andy Rabbit says, well, wait more than that, they get in my planters too. There are 4 of them. Yeah. Don says, when I lived at the Lake of the Ozarks, hubby used a Coleman cooler, and somehow every single worm got out of it through the sealed lid. Mm-hmm. So here's a question: why are the worms leaving? So this is why I don't like, not why. One of the reasons why I don't like the newer version of the worm farm is because it does have that space that you can't really clamp down. Now, why are the worms leaving? Okay, one, it could be too wet. If your spout is plugged, that's something to check first. Is anything coming out of there? Is your spout plugged? You might have to stick your finger up and get, some yummy stuff out. When that happens, it's gone anoxic and it does not smell good. So, but does happen. That spout can plug, and that could back up some really not so fun stuff for your worms to be living in. So is it too moist? Is that plugged? Is it too hot? So this happened here. What I've learned is that if I put an ice pack on top of my, okay, 1, you have to find the right place, right? 2, if you put an ice pack on top of the worm bin in my location, when it gets really, really hot, then they're okay. If I don't, then sometimes they're okay. I did have a really big die-off several years ago. I didn't this year, surprisingly, because this past year was really hot. But several years ago, I had a big die-off, and I think it might have been because the substrate wasn't as built up, and then it got hot. So it can be too hot. It can be too wet. Those are probably going to be the 2 major things. Or if you have too much of something you weren't supposed to put in there. So if you have a bunch of orange peels that you threw in there and they're like, okay, this is not working for me, I'm out of here. And the sad thing is that they don't figure out to get back in, and then they dry up and die. So yeah. And they get out of very, very small areas because they can stretch very thin. Hey, Feather Connections. Kelly's here. Hi, Kelly. Hey, sorry, y'all. Evenings got harder for me trying to get the kiddos to bed. That is okay. Hopefully they're doing good and you're doing good. Ooh, red wriggler discussion. Yay. Info on mealworms next. Yeah, I have not done mealworms, but I have everything to do it, just like the black soldier flies, except for the animals. Yeah. Donna says she just started the topic, so you didn't miss anything. Awesome. Okay, you came in right at the beginning. Awesome. Everybody saying hi to you, Kelly. Oh, and everything just jumped. Let me find where you guys are. All right. Guido says you should be able to get red wrigglers in the fishing section at Walmart in the cooler, unless that's just a Louisiana thing. I don't know. I don't know either. Like I said, I'm not a fisher person. All I know is that when my mom looked for them, she had to look in 2 different places, and she actually had to because the lady was going to charge her for the, like, they sell red wigglers by the pound, and she needed like 12. And so she's like, just take them. So yeah. SS Swanson says, Kelly, black soldier flies are easier than mealworms. Okay, good to know. Yeah, I think Steve and Ed have done both of those, I think. And I need to start those and pick your brains, maybe. Feather Connection says, Katrina, where did you learn all this stuff? I have a very I'm interested in a lot of things, and I hunt it down. I've learned on YouTube videos. I've learned from people that have had them, and then personal experience. So I learned about, I don't even know when I learned about red wigglers. Probably when my mom was doing her kindergarten class thing. They move different than the earthworm. That's part of the lab for the kindergartners. And I probably learned about them then. And then I was like, man, I want to do all this compost. I want to do all this stuff. And my friend actually gave me the bin that I actually have 2 bins, but the first bin that I got came from him, and he started me on them, and he gave me all the information. So like that's a learned by personal experience with someone who has experience. And then I did look up a whole bunch of other stuff, and then I also attended so you guys know there's master gardeners, and then there's also master composters, and I went to one of their classes like as a guest, not as a like I didn't go through a series or anything, but he talked a lot about that and a lot about what you can do with them and stuff. And when I first got them, I was like, oh, and I was gonna be gone for like a week, and I'm like, oh, I gotta have my neighbor watch my worms. My neighbor came, she fed my worms, and now I'm like, okay, if I was gone for a month, they'd be completely fine in there. So I did baby them at the beginning. Yeah, and actually, I lost them. I think I lost them twice. I think once the container that I first got them in, they gave them watermelon, and I guess it was too much watermelon and not enough other things. It was like in a yogurt container that he gave them, and they sat in there all day. And then I got them home. I'm like, they're dead. I think it just got too juicy in there. And then the second time I lost them was because of heat. So restarting, having good friends is good. Yeah. Feather Connection says, so we don't have them out west in Utah, too dry. So these are, I don't know where they're native to. And actually earthworms aren't native to the United States either. That's a European thing that came over with the plants and all of that, and they've made their way. And yeah, it's the same thing where I grew up. When my mom bought the earthworms, and she would just put both the earthworms and the red wigglers into the compost pile. And after she bought the first ones, she could dig out the red wigglers and use them the next year, but she always had to buy earthworms. And she says that she thinks they just went straight down and didn't come up ever again. And that's in the high desert. So like where you are is I believe high desert as well, or desert. But yeah. But yeah, they sell them, and maybe somebody in your community has them. S.S. Swanson says the fishing worms and red wigglers aren't quite the same. Exactly. They're different species. They do different things. Yeah. More for fishing worms around here, Vase Place says. Andy Rabbit says, I have a story. It's going to be a few messages, I'm sure. Okay, we're waiting on it. Start it, Andy, starting with part 1. All right, we're going to read through Andy Rabbit's story, and then we'll come back to Dawn. Okay. Hubby helped me clean poop while we filled up planter buckets with the poop for spring. I had a bag of coffee grounds. Coffee grounds are good for worms, also good for your plants. Out eggshells waiting. As I was taking them out, I thought, dang, I have all these eggs. I'm not going to eat, or all these eggs I'm not going to eat. Why not? So I asked the hubby to grab one of the tubs of them. He says, you just gonna waste them? No, I'm going to feed the soil. As I was cleaning the rabbit's cage, a friend of my daughter's stopped by. Hubby came out and said, I found these 2 chicken eggs in the rabbit poop. In the rabbit poop? What you want me to do with them? I told him to just toss them in one of the pots too. I thought that guy was about to have a heart attack. He says, what? Have you seen the price of eggs and you're just going to toss them? I offered them to him, but when he seen the poop all over them, let's see. My yard worms eats my rabbit poop. Okay. Yeah, so that's like the earthworm type stuff. I miss the worms in the winter because I have to clean poop up. I have worm beds in the past. I lost my last batch when we had bad storm. It got flooded. Yeah. The whole town got flooded. Wow. Yeah. When you have eggs, you can use them. All right. So back up to Dawn. Katrina, the red wigglers showed up. Awesome. They're all over, and the birds land in bushes with them in their beaks and drop them. Interesting. So somebody else had them and let them out in their yard, and now they're in your yard. Well, they're good to have around. They take care of a lot of the decaying vegetation, so that's good. Steve says they say that red wigglers eat manure, and it's supposed to be good if there are vegetable eating animals, not pets. I don't know. So you're saying like if they're like rabbits or vegetable eating animals, is that what you're saying? I don't know. Yeah, if someone has tried that, let me know. Base Place says compost tea of it. Yeah, so the leachate, yeah, compost tea. I think I know people have done that. Don says, Steve, now that is interesting because I used manure in the gardens every spring. Oh, so they might be coming to eat that. Interesting. I don't know. Maybe we'll do an experiment at some point. Not right now. At some point. Don says the manure from the quail and rabbit is like grain and vegetable manure. Yeah, the quail. I mean, I think some of that in there. I guess it is all vegetarian, isn't it? But they're gonna eat bugs if they come in there too. In fact, the second aviary I made, the raviary, there was an ant pile in there when I built it, and I'm like, oh great, well hopefully the quail will take care of it, and I put him in there, and it was so funny because all of the quail are like just started picking off the ants, and now there's no ants. So in fact I started a video once and it didn't work, but I put like 3 or 4 female quail in a I don't know, just like a cage set up over an ant line. Like they were traveling back and forth across the yard. They weren't even in my yard doing anything in my yard. They were going in between the neighbors. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be like the rent a quail for the ant control. And I haven't gotten them to do it. Anyway, that'd be a fun thing. Hey, Andy Rabbit says first baby is here. Congratulations. And Vase Place says congratulations. Awesome. Hopefully the rest will follow soon. What day is it though? I don't think you answered. What day is the first hatch here? Vase Place says, dang, lots of noise coming from animal room. Uh-oh. Hopefully everybody's okay. Woohoo! Everybody's congratulating Andy Rabbit. I'm smiling pretty big right now, she says. Dang rambunctious quail ruse. Okay, that's what the ruckus is. Well, yeah. You didn't have much to choose from for your ruse, did you? Actually, how many did you have? I don't remember. I know it wasn't very many total. But they're getting their exercise, huh? Steve says, congrats, Andy. Quail Mama. Name them Electro, ACDC, Brown Out, and other electrical names. Oh my. Andy Rabbit says, if I name them, I will. Maybe I'll name their cages. Okay. Don says, worms are natural here. They are everywhere. When people go fishing, they just go dig them up. They don't leave. Even in drought, where ground cracks, they go deep down. When it rains, they come back. Yeah. Ooh. Vase Place says the roos are killing each other off. That is not good. Hopefully, maybe you're able to sit and watch. Maybe it's just one. I don't know. I don't know what to do with that. If you don't know which one, or if it's all of them, or if they're just competing. Hopefully you figure it. Hopefully you remove them enough that they're okay. Hatch Keeper says the 7th. Okay, so you're saying they're a day early? That's interesting. 7th or 17th. 7th is pretty early. Oh, I think what she's saying is that the 7th is the hatch date. Is supposed to be the hatch date. So they're a day early, I think. Vase Play says I killed the last one that damaged the other roos earlier. Lucy got a good dinner. Man, it's a well-fed dog. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says the first one looks to be either a blonde color or a silver. We'll have to let it dry out. Awesome. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the worm the worm topic. It is something different, and yeah, I think it's a good thing to keep worms. I really do. And their compost is amazing. And the thing is the seeds you can germinate seeds in the worm compost, but you have to, if you're going to germinate them for the purpose of planting them, you have to get to them extremely fast, because the worms will eat the plant part of that. They won't eat the seeds, but they will eat the plant part. So I've had several things come up in my yard because of the worm castings. The best of which was the ground cherries in the front yard. They popped up several years ago. I had no idea what it was. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but it's all over. What's going on? And then once I kind of saw it grow, and I'm like, I think that's what it is. Why would I have that here? And then I remembered I bought some ground cherries at Safeway, which is not a good place to buy ground cherries. And it was nasty. And I tossed them in the worm bin. And a year later, I have ground cherries in the yard that are very tasty. Except for in winter, they're not that great, but in the summer, they're good. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, I put them in the incubator on January 21st. Okay. I'm not going to do math. Vase Play says, it was an interesting topic, Katrina. Good. I'm glad. So Steve says 16 days. Darn, maybe I should turn my power off during a hatch. Oh boy. Well, hopefully the rest of them hatch. That's our hope, right? Is that the rest of them hatch? Yeah. All right. Does anybody have any other topics they want to discuss? Anything fun that happened over the weekend besides all the pig drama? Andy says, I put all kinds of stuff in my large pots all winter. The worms wake back up in spring and eat it all up just in time to start planting. Awesome. Tomorrow is the 7th. Yeah, tomorrow's your hatch date. Yeah. Ground cherries look a lot like tomatoes. They do, but they look more like tomatillos when they're in their little lantern shells. They're related, right? They're related to tomatillos, and which are related to tomatoes. They're really good. Yeah. Vase Play says, ask Andy what other babies does she have today. What other babies do you have today? Andy Rabbit says, I have not ate a ground cherry yet. Yeah, so they go by multiple names. It's ground cherry, Cape gooseberry, and I don't know, there's 2 or 3 other names. And it's in a little husk like a tomatillo, which looks kind of like one of those Chinese lantern things. And does the 3-second rule apply to ground cherries? I don't know what the 3-second rule is. I know what the 5-second rule is. Sure, you can drop food on the ground and eat it, especially the real ground. The real ground is going to have some good microbes, maybe some not so good ones too. 6 coolie babies. Oh my gosh, when did they hatch? They didn't hatch. 6 from one mama or from multiple mamas? So those that don't know, cooey are the same thing as cavi or what was it called? Oh my gosh. My friend had a pet one and her name was Cupcake, so I always want to call them cupcakes. um, guinea pigs. There we go. Guinea pigs. So yeah, so the ground cherries, when they ripen in the husk. And so you can peel it back, and they actually will fall when they're ripe. You can pick them when they're ripe as well, but you better pick them when they come off very easily. If you pick them before that, you're never gonna like them. And I think that's probably what they did in the store, is they picked them super early and people buy them because they're like, oh, this is a good thing. Oh, golden berry, I think, is the other one. When they dehydrate into like raisins, golden berry is what they call it. It's like a superfood. Yeah, but they're really good. They're sweet and tart at the same time. So yeah, if you try it, if you try it at like a farmer's market or somebody's grows it or you want to grow it, then that's good. They readily sprout. This was literally from the worm compost straight into the garden. And I didn't even know I planted it. Steve, it's a live rule for ground cherry. I don't know. 2 mamas. Awesome. So is their average litter size 3? Cooey babies are pups. Okay. Are 3 pups? Steve says Cupcake was a guinea pig. Yes, Cupcake was a guinea pig. And we would play with her. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says 2 born on the 30th and 4 Saturday. Guinea pigs, yes. And Steve wants to know if Andy eats hers. And she says, not yet, Steve. I got them with the idea of cat food at first. That's a long time to gestate. Because they have a long gestation. And for a cat, you probably raise mice. Interesting. Vase cup is dry. Uh-oh. Oh, meant a lifelong rule for ground cherries. Okay, Andy Rabbit. Essel Swanson says, on the farm and in the woods, on the ground is fair game. Yep. Feed your biodiversity, your own biodiversity. Don says, I have ground cherry seeds I got last year, but hubby quit trying to garden outside because he kills everything. Uh-oh. Oh, and Andy Rabbit says, yes, Katrina, I have figured that out. I don't want you to be figured out, but that's okay. Good. Ground cherries grow pretty readily. I think that if you're watering an area, then they do pretty well. We've gotten down to freezing here, and they are completely fine. I don't know how cold they tolerate, but they do tolerate at least down to freezing. The first year that they were there, I cut them back thinking that they would die back. And I was like, well, I'm just going to cut them back and, not deal with it once it's dead. And they actually grew during winter and were there. When I cut things back, I cut them down to the soil bottom, or soil level, so that the roots can then, decompose and add nutrients to the soil, and it doesn't mess with the soil microbe. Their I don't know what to call it. There's like highways, right, of all this fungus and mycorrhizae and all these microbes that are in there, and the least impacts you have to that by like digging something out, the better. Yeah. So anyway, and then they just came back, and so I haven't cut them back, and they're the same plants. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. It's kind of neat. I like to see what grows in my yard and then let it grow. And like things have traveled around. If I plant something over here, the next generation moves a little bit. And it's kind of neat to see. Yeah. Andy Rabbit said, Andy Rabbit says the cuy I seen right after Verna's live stream. Okay. And Baseplay says my friend loved her birthday present I gave her today, a heavy poncho. Good. Yeah, keep people dry. So we did get rain. I don't know if you guys saw the video from today. We did get quite a bit of rain on Sunday. Or Sunday morning. It was raining so hard I thought it was hailing, and it wasn't. It was just, it woke me up in the early morning. And then later it did hail a little bit. But yeah, it was amazing. Don says if things are wilting today and it's 100 degrees with rock hard dirt, he might wait 4 to 7 days to water. Yeah, I am a big supporter of automatic watering, because if I don't have automatic watering, a lot of things are not going to make it. So maybe he needs an automatic waterer. And they're fairly inexpensive, like the ones that go onto the water hose, as if there's any other kind, right? But the faucets, the water faucets, outdoor faucets, they're relatively inexpensive for what they do. And then they're battery operated. That's what I have. There are better systems that, you do these big boxes that are underground and they go to specific plants and all that. But you can design your system however you want. And you can even have different times on the same box, same control box, like up to 4. I think I've seen up to 6 different stations, so you can water things for different amounts of time. So I highly recommend that. Yeah, and that's exactly what Vase Place is saying is, Dawn, you need to get drip tape on timer. Vase Place says, oh, you crocheted a poncho. Okay, not a rain poncho, a poncho that goes over. Okay. I bet it's nice and warm. Yeah, that's a big thing to crochet. That's awesome. Good job. Dawn says, Face Place, I don't garden anymore because I can't walk, so all I do inside with hydroponics. He isn't allowed to touch it. My mom was not allowed to do anything in the garden because she killed things. But she was able to grow onions and bell peppers, which, why would you want to grow those, right? And then she makes incredible dirt, incredible soil. So incredible compost. She actually does really, really well with that. So that's her job. And my dad does most of the gardening stuff. Yeah. Vase Place says, wonderful, Dawn. That is what I'm getting into now. Yeah, hydroponics. If you add some fish in there, you can you can add some nutrients, and I don't know what fish you would add for an apartment setting. Maybe like betas or something, or goldfish. Goldfish grow to the size of their containers. I know that. That I don't know if that's worth exploring or not. Yeah. And Andy Rabbit says, oh, Verna, you got that birthday gift finished. That is awesome. It looks so good. I need to rewatch the beginning of your video. I didn't do that yet. Vaseway says, Yepers, Andy, and started another with the virus stitch. I'm going to have to look that up. Dawn says, I had timers 25 years ago and they died. Hoses rotted and got old. I watered by hand every time until my accident. Oh, yeah. Sometimes you have to replace things. And sometimes it's good to have replacements on hand because sometimes you go to the store and they don't have it. And sometimes the store says something's going to come in a truck and it doesn't, like what happened today. I asked last week at Tractor Supply, our double-decker hutch for the rabbits, the grow outs, that works really well. It needs its flooring replaced, and the rabbit flooring is what I'm going to replace it with. Right now it has hardware cloth that has, it has given up. There's holes in it now. And I went there last week saying, okay, well, they always have this, and they didn't have it. So I asked the guy at customer service, and he said, oh, that's always on our trucks, so it'll be on the truck on Monday. Okay. Well, I went to, I didn't even go there because I've had a mistrust of this branch. So I called them and I said, hey, is this here? And the guy didn't know what I was talking about until many, many, many minutes of explaining what it is. And he's like, we don't carry that. I'm like, yes, you do. So I found it online and I ordered it. So that's what we're going with. So those meatballs bunnies plus the 2 males from Tortellini are going to be living in that soon. And then they'll be processed soon after that. So we'll go from there. Yeah. Anyway, where was I? That was a side shoot. Let me find where you guys are. Dawn says, Katrina, he has weeds 6 feet tall now out there. Uh-oh. Time to get a goat, huh? I know someone who their lawnmower died permanently, and so they got a goat. Move her around. Yeah, they'll have enough lawn to make that work. Dawn says, Vase Place, I know, and you will love it. Oh, the Stitch? Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, Katrina, we missed the last part of that story. Oh, okay. I didn't see the last part of the story. Tell us. I thought it was just that the eggs had poop on it. So this is Andy Rabbit's story from above where they were putting eggs into soil. That guy seen the eggs and said, no thanks, I'll pass. The poop bucket had melted ice, so liquid poop and the eggs were sitting in it. Yeah, that might be a problem. And Vase Place put a link to what she is crocheting, which I guess I'll look at later. Dawn says, Katrina, I didn't need to replace them because I did it every evening for about 15 years. He used to water with me. Now he's incapable. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're doing your hydroponics and that's working for you. So keep doing it. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, Vern, I will watch. Oh, after you leave here. Yeah. Cool. And so I'll look at that virus stitch too. Awesome. All right, so I am thinking we're winding down a little bit, unless anybody else wants to say something or share something, maybe something you're doing this week or something you already did. Other than that, I think I might say goodnight. Let's see if anybody has any fun things or not fun things. I don't know. Oh, Vase Place says, Dawn, the yarn I'm using is called Puzzle Trivia. Interesting. All right. Andy Rabbit says, I haven't seen egg prices in a few long years, so I just don't think about it, I guess. Yeah. They're very expensive in the store, and people kind of still don't understand what quail eggs are. That's kind of what I've been up against is in my selling is that people like they say, oh, it's cute. Okay, but you can eat it. And I don't know why that's such a, for me, that every that is the most common response I get for why someone wouldn't eat that is that they're cute. And it's like, it's an egg. it's an egg. Yeah. And you have, so I'm gathering eggs for a hatch. Awesome, Verna. Awesome. Vase Place says, Easter, I will once more take deviled quail eggs to senior center. Awesome. I actually just experimented with dyeing eggshells. I'm going to be making candles and in dyed eggshells. So they're drying. They're probably already dry, but they're drying in the kitchen right now. And so that's something I'll be making. Yeah, doing some crafting. Truck 3 Warden says, planning on cutting scions this week. Temps will be in the 30s. Heat wave. Yeah, awesome. So I went to a apple grafting course and attended and helped out, showing people how to cut. And I'm going to, at some point soonish here, attempt to do a video about grafting, and we'll see how well I do. I've grafted for myself and for my neighbor, and I've helped people understand how to graft and talk them through things. But I am by no means a pro. I think all of the grafts I've done have taken. The ones I did on the quince took, and then they died because I put them way down low instead of up high. But yeah, that's awesome. You're cutting scions. What kind of scions are you cutting? That's a good question. Yeah, so that was a good thing to attend. That was in Santa Cruz, and some really good people, some orchardists gave the course, and we spent 40 minutes practicing on sticks, and nobody realized it was 40 minutes. Yeah. And you can practice and practice and practice, and it's amazing how much time flew by, and people were checking on each other and all of that. So it's pretty cool. Andy Rabbit says, I gave him a handful of the quail eggs, and he asked, can I come buy them from you? And I said, yes, of course. Awesome. Yeah, Vaseplay says, wonderful. Yeah, that is awesome. He also asked if he could possibly buy some quail for his own eggs too. That is really good. Yeah, I have someone who bought quail and then bought more quail. His son left his aviary door open and they lost some. Some of them are still there, but he really, really enjoys watching them. And just for that, yeah, they'll give eggs, but he really enjoys watching them, which is great. Truck 3 Warden says, that would be great. My last course was over 20 years ago. Apple. Awesome. So you're grafting apple onto rootstock or onto another tree? Anyone need any fig cuttings? Faceplace said. You can root foot fig cuttings, and you can also graft them. I have some cuttings that I need to root. Yeah. Oh, and Andy Rabbit said yes. You guys can talk about it. Oh, Chelsea. Hi, Chelsea. Welcome, Chelsea. Fig cuttings would be awesome. All right. Yeah, and I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, something like that. Yeah, now is the time to be getting your scions. I am going to be grafting a tree. I'm going to be cutting most of the tree down and grafting onto it this week. It is starting to bud out. So that's the time when you want to graft, is when things are budding out. And for so I did a video on taking a scion. I hope you guys saw that. Truck 3 Warden, if you didn't see that video, it's like from last week, I think. Last week or the week before. And it's all about scions. And so watch that video, and let's see if I can find it. Let's see, because since we're talking about it, I can look. And let's see. Scion. There we go. All right, I'm going to put this in here. Scion video. So there's my Scion video. If you haven't watched that, go ahead and watch that before you take your Scions, and then we'll talk about grafting later. But when you want to graft is when the buds are just about to pop. So there, there's energy going through the tree. Yeah, there you go. And Truck 3 Warden says you're going to graft onto another apple tree that the graft died on. Okay. Awesome. Chelsea says, hi, just found your channel yesterday. Welcome. Oh, you're in Sonoma County on a city lot. Glad to find another California homesteader. Welcome. You're in Sonoma County. There is, just telling you because I know you're somewhat close, if you are into planting any rare fruits or any fruit trees, stuff like that, there are 2 Scion exchanges left, I think, in February. Scion, you can watch that video. If you don't know what Scion is, watch the video I linked right below where you said something. And there are 2 Scion exchanges left. One is in Sacramento and one is in Santa Rosa. And that's for the California rare fruit growers. So if you're interested in that at all, go to those. It's a really good time and it's really awesome. So I'm glad you found my channel. Welcome. And Tangmen is also here. Welcome. You are also new. Hello. Good morning. Where are you? That it is morning. It is almost 7:30 at night here. Awesome. You're on the other side of the world, maybe. Welcome. So Chelsea and Tangman, what are your what do you do? What are you growing? Do you have animals? Do you have gardens? Do you have all that? Yeah, just let us know kind of what you do, and we can talk a little bit about some of those things, or what you're liking, what you're wanting to learn about, and we'll try and help you. And Truck 3 Warden says, yes, I watched the video, which reminded me that I needed to get out to the orchard and get it done. Yes. Oh, you have an orchard. That's so awesome. I am on an urban lot. I have over 40 fruit trees. They are kept small. But I really, really would love to have land and grow a food forest and incorporate rabbits and quail into that. That is my dream. So, yeah. That's my dream. Good. So Vase Place says, I noticed my fig is starting to bud. Yeah, mine is starting to, on the tips, the growing tips are starting to green up. So that's really good. You watched it. Awesome. Chelsea says, we are hoping to go to the Scion Exchange. It's right down the road from us. We are in Santa Rosa. Awesome. There we go. Awesome. Santa Rosa has a lot of stuff. It used to host the Heirloom Expo. Unfortunately, that's gone down to LA area this year. It's going to be in September. But it also has, what is that guy's name? There is someone famous who has a garden there. Well, he's no longer alive. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens up in Santa Rosa. So that's good. It's good. Vase Place, 10:36 p.m. there. Oh my goodness, it's late. 9:30 here. Andy Rabbit and Steve. Yeah, so it was 26, not 36. I don't know what numbers you are saying. Oh. You were 10 minutes ahead of what you were supposed to be? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Awesome. So Truck 3 Warden says, actually have 2 orchards. I will also need to take the chainsaw and clean fence lines from the ice storm. cows are getting in with the horses. Truck 3 Warden, where are you? What state are you in? Oh, you missed reading, Verna? Yeah, where was there an ice storm? If we ever had an ice storm here in Gilroy, California, I'm not going anywhere because people don't know how to drive. Well, you don't want to go anywhere anyway in an ice storm, but people here definitely don't know how to drive even in the rain. Well, sometimes in the rain. Chelsea says, we are a military family, Coast Guard, so we move every 4 years. We moved to Santa Rosa in August. We are trying to get our garden and yard in order. It's currently dust, not even a weed growing, but we already have quail, rabbits, and chickens. Awesome. I also have quail, rabbits, and chickens. Very awesome. So if you haven't already delved into the videos, go ahead and delve in. Every Monday night at 6 p.m. Our time, I get to say that, 6 p.m. Pacific time, we have a live here, and any questions you can put in the comments. I respond to comments, and then we have this interactive platform right here, and everybody in the comments was very helpful. So welcome. Essel Swanson says, we live in Ice Storm Alley. I did not know there was an Ice Storm Alley. I thought it was Tornado Alley. Is it the same alley? And they can't drive here in rain, let alone ice. Uh-oh. Yeah. Okay, Wisconsin. So Truck 3 Warden's in Wisconsin, North Central. Neighbor come over and cut trees out of the driveway. And when the semi came home, we were out clearing more trees so he could make it home. Wow, driveway is a 3rd mile long. Wow, okay. I did my undergraduate schooling in Iowa, and then I worked in Illinois for a little bit. So I am familiar with the Midwest, and cheese curds in Wisconsin. Yeah. Yeah, their ice is not good. Ice storms are not good. I would definitely, I mean, the ice probably trimmed your trees for you along your driveway, but I would definitely, once it warms up, definitely look at those trees right by the driveway, especially if it's that long. And anything dead wood or weak, I would definitely just cut out, because then you won't have that issue later. There are some places like up in the mountains near where I grew up in Oregon that people automatically just have a chainsaw and a shovel in the back of their car, back of the truck, and it's just expected that there might be downed trees and things to dig out. So that's my recommendation. Oh, Andy Rabbit, this is so exciting. We have another egg wiggling. I'm glad to see the movement in them. Awesome. Well, hopefully you are a little calmer now, and at least you're going to have some birds. Hopefully a lot of birds. Awesome. Oh, what incubator are you using? I'm guessing that's a question to Andy, but my incubator's right below you guys, underneath the table. And that is the Hovabator. It's a forced air Hovabator. I don't remember what the number is. It's a forced air Hovabator with the egg turners. So, yeah, Andy Rabbit, what kind is yours? A Little Giant. So I think that's very similar to a Hovabator. Yeah, it's a styrofoam one. Very cool. Very cool. Well, anybody else have any topics to cover? Yay, Little Giant Club. Little Giant Club for the win. What, 2 against 1? Nobody else has put their input in. I know Verna has a Hovabator. Base Play says, I have to take my Hovabator apart and see what the heck the problem is with it. It is forced air as well. So I cleaned out mine. There was a short that I did whenever I put this together a couple weeks ago about cleaning out the fan with a spray can of air, and it really needed cleaning out. And a little bit of an issue that I had, so we have, when you turn the lid upside down, you have the part that has a fan. It has 4 screws, so you can unscrew those, take them out, spray things out. Like, it's very accessible. And then there's the control center, which is like where the thermostat is and where all that stuff is. And all I could do is spray at the base of it, and I did get stuff out. But one of the nuts I could get off. The other nut is so close to the box, I can't even turn it. So I don't even know how they got that on, but I did the best I could. So good luck with that. Good luck. Hopefully it just needs a good cleaning, and the spray air stuff is good. And I have a can right here. I have props, guys. This is a spray can of air. And you just follow the directions and spray it out first, because there's going to be a little bit of liquid in there. Just spray a little bit and then spray your fan and whatever needs cleaning. There you go. Okay. Truck 3 Warden says, we had a canopy over the driveway. Oh, had. Had as in it's no longer there. They are going to log the national forest next to me, and I'm going to try to get them to cut out my aspen and white birch by me. Always carry an axe. Oh. Yeah. My first job actually was on a YCC crew, youth conservation crew, with the Forest Service, U.S. Forest Service. So I definitely know how to. Well, we used Pulaski's, not axes, but definitely know how to use that. Yeah, and I would recommend, if they're going to log it, there's going to be a lot of limbs that are either going to be brushed piles and burn, or they'll chip up. They probably won't chip it. But if you can convince them to leave it to chip, and you can use that wood chips, that would be great in your orchard. I don't know what your understory is for your orchard, but I know at least production orchards that are like in California, in the San Joaquin Valley, we have tons of orchards, and they all have nothing underneath it. They get sprayed, they get, all this stuff. But if you can get wood chips down, that will get so many more nutrients into your trees, and micronutrients, and the fungal network will work a lot better. I don't know what you have underneath it right now, but and it also holds moisture. So don't put it up against the trees, but put them, in between your trees, and it'll do wonders for you. I do that. I get tree trimmings. The tree trimmers chip, trees, and I get that for free, and then I put it out on the yard or on the wood chip pathways. I put it underneath the trees. I use it for the deep litter for the animals. That sounds like an opportunity to me to get some really good wood chips. Yeah, especially if you have aspen. There are some. Aren't morels? Tell me if I'm wrong. Somebody know mushrooms out there? I think morels are grow underneath aspen, right? I could be totally wrong. I don't know why that's in my head, but could be. All right. Vase Place. I'm using the Little Giant for the next hatch. Yeah, if you have something going on with your hover baiter, but I'd be curious to know if it just needs cleaning out, or if there's like a replacement that it needs. And Andy Rabbit is celebrating Little Giants for the win. Steve got a new heater and fan for yours. Okay. Andy Rabbit says, I'm going to watch that video again after they all hatch out for sure. Good. Steve says, I have a Little Giant and the Farm Innovator. Do you see a difference between them, or are they about the same, Steve? And Vase Place says, I have both of those too. Andy Rabbit says, I have 3 Little Giant incubators. One is a still air. I've not used a still air, but it sounds like it's not as good. So I just went with the forced air. And it works pretty good. Truck 3 Warden says, it's a pine thinning, so they will be spraying in there for the pine beetle. Otherwise it would. Yeah, that makes things complicated. Yeah. Well, missed opportunity. um, maybe they can chip yours and leave it there. I don't know. Dawn says, good night. I have to get going. Thanks for an interesting live stream. You're welcome. Good night, Dawn. Thanks for coming. Steve says, morel and other mushrooms like oak, elm, ash, and aspen. Hey, I was right. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, do you have morels underneath those aspen? You might want to keep them. Everybody's saying goodnight to Dawn. Morel really like oak. Okay. I've not seen them here in California. I've only experienced them out in the Midwest, and I believe it was under aspen that mostly I saw them. But again, that was years ago. Years and years ago. Truck 3 Warden says, my son works in the woods and picks morels and others I can't remember the name of. He gifts me sometimes. Well, make sure you're not destroying his secret mushroom spot by taking those out. Hey, Callie's here. Callie Quail Keepers. Hi, Brooke. Okay, you got me on. I started talking about mushrooms. So Brooke, Callie Quail Keepers is Brooke, and she is going through a process of really diving into learning the mushroom, the mycology is what it's called, in her area, which is in California. So morels are symbolic. They're not. They might be. That's not what you wrote. Morels are symbiotic with different trees, but are generally found in fresh burned forests, Matt, in spring optimal foraging. Interesting. The ones I've seen have never been in freshly burned areas. So that might be a difference between the Midwest and here, or different in like soil components. So like the soils here are going to be different than the soils there. And the soils here are going to be different than the soils in the Midwest. In the Midwest, there's a lot of limestone. I don't know what it is at Truck 3 Warden's place, but there's a lot more limestone. And here we have a lot more granite based, I think is probably where you are. She's kind of in the foothills. So that might be a difference in the actual chemistry. I don't know. I'd be interested. This is just me talking. I don't know. This is just me figuring. If I had a test question, that's how I would answer it. Everybody's saying hi and good night. Steve says, in that case, Brooke, I'm gonna burn down my forest. Oh boy. So there is a natural something else. I don't think I've talked about this yet. One of the internships I did when I was in my undergrad is I put together a fire ecology fire ecology field trip for elementary kids for the High Desert Museum, which is in Bend, Oregon. And that's a high desert. And actually, the museum itself is in Ponderosa and Lodgepole forest. And then right next to that is the, sagebrush and junipers. So I actually did a lot of I did the whole thing. So basically what we did is there's 3 school groups, 3 towns around that area. And for those 3 towns, I found 3 fires and talked with different people about different contacts for those fires. So there would be, the parks department, the local city, the, different departments, the state parks, and learn about those fires and all that. And I put together curricula for 3 fires for each of the 3 towns. And then that was a half day's worth of stuff. But the first half would be at the museum and put together that curricula. So I do have a lot of, knowledge of that when researching for that. And I almost went into fire ecology, but I chose wildlife instead. I didn't want to mistakenly burn down someone's house, because whenever you go into fire ecology, you're going to be doing prescribed burns and all of that. So every place has their own fire needs, and you'll notice different things in different types of forests, and different types of forests need different types of fires. So fire is a constant throughout the world. There's natural fires that happen, and it's just the severity of the fire that varies. And here in the United States, we have suppressed fire to the point that those natural fires, which would be like a ground going fire and just getting the bottom part, clearing the earth, so those seeds that fall find the earth, like the giant sequoias, the coast redwoods, they need a clear spot for their seeds to land in order to go, because their initial root isn't that strong. There's other plants that need fire to have scarification, which means it needs that to actually germinate. So there's all these different kinds of fires. One is a bottom level fire, it just takes care of the bottom. One is, a mid-level fire, and then there's a crown fire that goes all the way in the top and completely, destroys things. So like eucalyptus trees are really, really suited to fire. They have what are called ladder fuels. We just went on a big tangent here. You guys are learning. And ladder fuels, basically, it's like a ladder. It steps up, right? So if you guys picture eucalyptus trees, they have all that peeling bark that peels down. And what that is if there's a fire on the ground, it will very quickly go up into the canopy of those trees. And those trees and that system is meant for that. So they readily resprout, and they readily come back, and their other plants in that ecosystem readily comes back. Now, for a lot of our fires in the United States, eucalyptus is not native here. It's mostly ground fires that is the norm. And so we have suppressed every fire, starting in the 40s and 50s. They suppressed every fire that was out there. And what happens is that you have this fuel load that builds up, so that fires that would naturally start would just go through a system. And yeah, they might burn bushes and a few trees and all that. But, the bark is thick enough for the bigger trees to survive. And the soil, soil is good. It doesn't get too hot. And things grow. The seed that need the scarification, they go through that and they are able to germinate. One thing is lupin. Lupin needs scarification, like fire, to do that, which is a flower. And when you have that landscape in that system, it's really, really just, it does what it needs to do. When we have made these fires not happen because we suppress them, then you have too much fuel. And when you have too much fuel, they become crown fires. And it becomes a hotter fire, a faster fire. And that fire then goes through the system and kills a lot more than it would have otherwise. And it also can bake the soil. So when it bakes the soil, it makes it, you hear about all the landslides happening in California. That's what it's doing, is it's baked the soil. The rain can't go down into it, and it just, everything slides down. Anyway, tangent. There you go. Okay, I'll go back up here and see if you guys, I don't know, let me know if you want to hear stuff like that or not. Andy Rabbit says, I bought one new. About a month later, I found the other two incubators, egg turner with quail rails and a quail egg tray for $20 at a yard sale. Wow, clean it really well for yard sale, but good find. Good find. Everybody's saying hi to Brooke. And Andy, that was a deal. Yes, absolutely. Oh, and Andy is asking Brooke, Cali Quail Keepers, what did your friend's test show? I know the answer, but you'll see what she says. Vay's place. So there was a test on rabbits and whether or not it was hemorrhagic disease is what the test was. Around here in the Ohio, it is oak for morels. Okay. And you have different oaks than we do here. So there's like, I don't know, hundreds of different oaks. I don't know how many there are. Cali Quail Keeper says you can spread spores easily. Also, false morel looks very similar. Good to know. Good to know. The other thing about mushrooms is one thing in one place, it looks like that. And then in somewhere else, something else can look like the exact same thing, but they're not the same. So you have to know your location and the mushroom that you're looking for, not just what the mushroom is that you're looking for. You have to know the location as well. All right. So since half of California burnt, I'll be looking. Yeah, you're right. A lot did. Negative on hemorrhagic, full necropsy getting done. Thank goodness. So that was about her friend's rabbits that passed and got tested for hemorrhagic disease. So it's a good thing. I hope they find out what it was, but that's a good thing because that does go through rabbits very quickly. Yeah. But still sad. Wonder if it may be the feed. I don't know. I don't know anything about that other than what Brooke has said, but it'd be interesting to see what they find out, and I'm sure Brooke will share that with us. I hope she does. Yeah. So Andy Rabbit says, Katrina, that's awesome. That's really awesome. Cool. Good. Cali Quail Keepers. Brooke, it's a hard thing for me to say. Mattia, I don't know how to say that, but I know what you're talking about. Poppy needs burn scarification to germinate. There are a lot of, especially wildflowers. Fireweed doesn't need it, but it definitely likes it. There's a lot of different ones. Yeah. Truck 3 Warden says, Katrina, good rabbit hole to fall down. Random things are sometimes the most informative. Absolutely. There's a lot of random up in here. Yeah, there's a lot of random, but that's good. Andy Rabbit says, we have different walnuts out here than you have too. Black walnuts, and they are nasty. So we have black walnuts here, but they call it California black walnut, but there's like a weird thing on where they are actually native and where they're not. And there's a lot of grafted walnuts here that you find, like, even if the old farmhouse is gone, they're still there. You'll see, the trunk is one color, then all of a sudden it's a different color. That's been grafted. So yeah. So if you have black walnuts and you don't like them, you can, I don't know what grows well out there, but there's Persian walnuts and English walnuts, and you can graft them onto those. Like you can cut it and graft it and have new tree. Yeah. Steve says, my uncle burnt down a farmer's pasture and it came back greener and better. He thought about getting paid for the fire later, but he kept quiet. I'm not going to ask about circumstances there, but yeah, pasture and like prairie. So out in the Midwest where there used to be a lot of prairie, I mean, Kansas still has a lot of prairie. There's Nebraska has a lot of prairie. The natural system is for it to burn, and those fires would burn quite a distance before they went out. But then that soil gets richer and things get renewed and it's all good. But then fire wouldn't return for a while, right? I mean, lightning strikes was basically how things start, except for humans. Yeah. Vaseplay says, yeah, Andy, black walnuts have to be off the same tree for 3 years in order to become edible. Interesting. I did not know that. I think I've had walnuts from Iowa. I think they just have to be dried. I don't know. Kelly Quillkeeper says, we have horse chestnut. Yum. I have not cooked horse chestnut because I know that there is danger there, but it needs to be leached. So if you've done that, you should You should make a video on that and how to do that. I've made acorn flour, and we have so those of you in the Midwest, you have mostly white oaks and red oaks, is at least what I learned about there. The oak trees here have a slightly higher tannins, as I understand it, than there. And so we have to leach them more, but I've made flour from the acorns, and it took a lot. But yeah, Brooke, you need to make a video on that if you've done that. They're native to the Midwest as well, or Ohio, where Vay's place is. Andy Rabbit says, my uncle had a walnut orchard in California. Awesome. Do you know what kind he grafted it? That would be good. Oh, Vay's place says, I like pecans better. There are a few pecans in this area. Yeah. I know of people growing pecans here, but I don't see them as big orchards here. So I know the big orchards are, there's more water. So I don't know what that means. I just know that they grow walnuts here and pistachios and almonds, big almond. I think those are the only nuts that I've seen in the valley, in San Joaquin Valley. Yeah. Truck 3 Warden says, an egg customer gives me black walnuts every other year, makes great cookies. Ooh, yum. Andy Rabbit says, we didn't buy a house because of the walnut trees in the yard. I couldn't walk in the yard without stepping on the walnuts. Wow. Andy Rabbit says, trucker, don't give me any. I will get the only little piece of shells every time. So I saw someone once, and this is because I was going to collect the walnuts from the wild, and I haven't done that. But someone used, I've heard of driving over them, like putting them on the driveway and driving over them with a car to get the husk off. I saw a video though of someone they put them in a 5-gallon bucket, and they put one of those like cement mixer things that you attach to a drill. I don't know what they're called. They're like a spiral, and that actually did really well. So I want to know someone that did that and see if it actually turns out that way. Yeah, interesting. Truck 3 Warren says, I dry them and then put into a vise to crack. Yes, a lot of work. Yeah. He grew for diamond walnut. Okay. Yeah, diamond not acorns. Why am I saying acorns? Almonds. They have a lot of stuff in the San Joaquin Valley here. I don't know if diamond has the walnuts out there too or not. I just know a lot of them are for diamond, for the almonds. Yeah. Auger, yes. Thank you, Berna. Auger. The auger mixing thing. What is this? Why are you handing it to me? Manuel's here. He just handed me a bread. Okay. Thank you, a pastry. Thank you. Are you saying it's time to get off the computer? Yeah, I would like to know if anybody's done that. Oh, now people are saying hello to you.
Hi.
He's coughing, trying to say hi.
Hi.
Hi? Okay, he says hi. Steve says, Manuel says, feed me. He knows how to feed himself. We've decided that Monday nights are either easy dinner night or go out night. So that's what we've decided for Monday nights, because we never know how long. I think this is probably the longest one. We never know how long this is going to go. But yeah. Kelly says, I made chestnut chocolate ganache years ago. Long process. Absolutely, that's a long process. And she says, hello. Hello, he says. That is a long process. Wow. You need to make videos on these things, because I think people appreciate. So Callie, I have done in the past a lot of harvesting from the land. I like to know what I can eat Andy Rabbit says, hello, invisible man. You want to come sit by me?
I can be visible.
He can be visible. You got to move this though. So in the past, and I mean, I haven't done a whole lot recently, but in the past, I've done a lot of collecting. I've done elderberries, and you can eat fiddleheads for ferns. You can eat. There's a invasive grass here that is in a lot of the parks. It's called rattlesnake grass, and it's very, very sweet. If you get it the right time of year, it's very, very sweet. The wild oats are very sweet. You can chew on those when you get in the right time of year. And and so I haven't done that very, very much recently, but I definitely probably should. I have not foraged mushrooms except for chanterelles because I know what those are. And I've only ever foraged them from my grandma's house, which is no longer in the family. They used to be like that big. But yeah, there we go. Let's see where we are. We're going late tonight, guys. Vase Place wants to know if Brooke roasted or boiled the chestnuts to get the tannins out. So chestnuts should not be eaten just like as a chestnut because it does have, I don't know, Brooke, is it poison or toxicity or something? You don't want to deal it without leaching it. Whereas acorns, you can eat it, but it's, you might get a stomach ache if you eat too much straight without leaching it. It's not going to like hurt you. The horse chestnuts actually can, or yeah. Chestnuts? What are we talking? Yeah, I think that's what it is. Unless you're talking about a different kind of chestnut. Because there are different kinds of chestnut. Maybe we should clarify. Chelsea says, I would love a forage video from you. I will try. I've got to see what's forageable right now. Oh, miner's lettuce. Miner's lettuce is forageable. That's out in the yard, though. Vase Place is waving. Back at you, I'm assuming. Hey, Gary's here. I have not made mayonnaise. I'm sorry, Gary. I promised you. That was a long time ago. Oh, uh-oh. I didn't even read what you said and you retracted it. Uh-oh. Probably because I didn't make mayonnaise. He really wanted a mayonnaise video and I haven't done it yet. Okay. So greetings, Katrina, Verna, and everyone. It's been a while from North Carolina, where you can have winter, spring, summer, and fall all in the same week. Yep. Verna is agreeing with Chelsea. We need to see a foraging video. All right. So Vase Place, tomorrow's video is a harvest video, especially requested by you. So I filmed it, but I haven't actually edited it yet. Yeah. So Callie Quail Keeper says roast a long while. All right. Steve says I tried doing acorns once, but gave up. It was way too much work. I've done it twice. And it takes about this many acorns to make 3/4 a cup of flour. And I made pancakes and they were really, really good. But it is very time consuming. And it was very time consuming. I can see how back in the day, if that was your job to make flour for the community, then that would be a good job. You can do it while you're talking with the group of people you're doing with and all that. But if you're just doing it for fun, just do it for fun. It's not going to be a subsistence thing unless you actually want to work at it. Yeah. And made some good stuff. All right. I don't know what you made, Gary. What did you make? Hopefully something good. Everybody's saying hi. All right.
Hi, everyone.
You wanna?
I made it before it's over because I usually make it by the time it's almost over or when it's done. So since this is a really long one, I made it in time.
Yep. You want to share anything about what we did? Or anything?
Like what?
I don't know. You guys have any questions for Manuel? Oh my gosh, 11 p.m. here. Mayo, you did make it. You made the mayonnaise. Good. Good. Bay's place. Yeah, mine haven't been going this long though. If you guys have questions for Manuel, now's the time. If you speak Spanish and you want something in Spanish, can you say it in Spanish so that people, if there's someone Spanish speaking, they can know, they can ask questions?
You want me to say it in Spanish?
Yeah, in case there's someone watching that is not. There was one person here that hasn't said anything since the beginning, and I don't know what language they speak.
Oh, okay. Si habla español, puede hacer los comentarios en español y yo puedo contestar, pero no sé si sea 100% exacto lo que pueda traducir, pero puedo traducir lo más correcto que se pueda. Si ese es el caso, si tienen alguna pregunta en español.
I don't know what he said. I know some of it. All right, so hopefully if anybody is on here that is Spanish speaking, they can ask a question. Steve says, no habla español. So Verna's asking, Manuel, what is your favorite item in the garden?
Including animals or only fruit trees?
How about both?
Well, my favorite to eat is the peaches.
Which one?
Peaches. Well,
all of them.
I cannot say one because we have 1 year good peaches on one tree and then another one, but we had good year of peaches. So the peaches was will be my number one, and then my second one will be the apricots. Is it apricots? Mm-hmm. The one in front? Mm-hmm. Apricots, and then the plums. And for third or fourth, I think it will be the cherries. The cherries and the strawberries. They're good, but I don't like them that much because they're so tiny that it's not very satisfying. So if we have like a whole bunch, that'll be much nicer. Then I'll probably be one of my favorites.
Are you talking about the alpine strawberries? Yeah, alpine strawberries are about that big, and the strawberries that we have in the strawberry tower is the first year. So next year there's going to be more.
Okay. Yeah, and the blueberries or raspberries. I don't know.
The ones in the back?
Yeah.
Blackberries?
The ones that don't have thorns. I like those because they don't have thorns, so they're easy to pick. So those are one of my favorite fruits.
What about the animals?
For the animals, I like the eggs best because I will prefer to eat less meat than anything else. And for meat, I like rabbit better. I like rabbit better than the quail.
What about interacting with the animals?
I would like to try the chickens too, but you don't want to try them. So
the chickens are pets. So what about interacting with the animals?
I like the bunnies.
Yeah.
I like the bunnies, and I like the cat that don't belong to our house. That's a very, very cute cat.
Yeah, he's getting heavy. I picked him up today.
Yeah, it's a very nice cat.
All right. If you have anything else, you can say
it. No.
That's it?
That's it.
Andy Rabbit says, if you do a video about mayo, I will try it someday. Deal. Okay. Steve wants to know what you said to everybody. I think he just said if you have a question in Spanish.
Oh, I just said that if somebody has a question in Spanish, I can try to answer the question as correct as possible or translate it from Katrina, because I don't know very much about agriculture or the animal process, or how you have to handle them. So she's the expert, so I can get an answer from her, and then I can translate it the most correct way possible. But since my English is not like the greatest, it maybe a little different, but I try to do my best.
Thank you.
That's what I said.
Awesome. Um, Neither do I. You don't speak Spanish either. I took 2 years of Spanish in high school, and then I didn't use it for a very long time, and so I understand a lot more than I speak. Um, yeah, but he hasn't been teaching me.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to teach when you don't when you never teach before, and you're trying to teach somebody that already have established a language. It's so much harder to teach, because you you need to know the basics on how to begin teaching. And I think that's something that I'm skipping with Katrina. So she gets frustrated with the way I'm teaching her, because she wants to know all the details and everything, and I'm just telling you, just say it how I say it. And she wants to know the basics and everything. So that's what makes it harder
Yeah.
to learn.
Okay. Andy Rabbit says maybe right after I sprout something. To do the mayo. You're gonna sprout something this week. Awesome. I am also going to try and do that. Steve says, "Don't get pushy, Andy. We're in this together." Base Place also loves peaches, apricots, and plums. Who doesn't? Steve says, "I love fresh peaches too." Andy Rabbit says, "Oh man, now I want a juicy peach." My favorite peach in the yard, because I can answer this, is the white peach, the nectar peach.
Yeah.
And that's the one that it's super, super good fresh. But then I've canned it as a peach, like, they have peach halves. But then the better way to do that is to actually juice it, nectar peach, right? And can it up as juice. But the fresh peach is wonderful. Steve has a question for you. Do you prefer the chicken or the quail egg, and why? I added the and why, because I know the
Uh,
answer.
well, that's an easy answer, because for the for the for the quail, I have to take a really long time cracking them and putting them, and they're a little sticky sometimes. And with the chicken egg, I just crack it in half and open it, and be done with one, the most two eggs. And I think the flavor it's a slightly different. The chicken flavor, it's, I don't know if it's because that's what I have been having my whole life, a chicken egg, rather than the quail. So I feel like I like better the chicken. But once we've been eating a whole lot of quail eggs, I think I'm getting used to them. So that's not a big difference on flavor. The only is the tedious process of getting the right amount of eggs. It's what I prefer the chicken egg over the quail. But I think in terms of flavor, I think they're pretty even.
So I just did the video of meal prepping scrambled eggs, and he's used that to make egg sandwiches. And what do you think about that?
It worked perfect.
Yeah.
Since I have seen some people where we get sandwiches, sometimes breakfast sandwich, they use liquid to get the sandwich done, and we have done the same way. I thought it was gonna be a bit different when I make some eggs with the liquid one, with the one that we have can. And It were
Not
just
canned. It's not canned. It's just in a jar in the refrigerator.
okay,
Go ahead.
okay, in a jar. So it worked just fine. I felt like it got nice and fluffy. I think it got a little more fluffy than when you just scramble it a little bit. I don't know if it's like Katrina said that the cells got broken more, and it got a little more.
Because we use an immersion blender, I'm wondering if maybe more cells got broken up and maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah, it could be.
All right. Gary said, "Ooh, everybody jumped. Hang on." Gary says, "Thanks for remembering about the mayo, though. You got a good memory. It's been a while, Gary. We've been missing you." Base Place says, "I have fresh eggs now. Woohoo! But they are going towards hatching." It's okay. Andy Rabbit wants to know, have you tried squirrel? I have not.
No.
No? Okay.
I grabbed one squirrel when I was back in Mexico. It was a baby squirrel, and I grabbed it by the tail and hold it, and it got kind of friendly. I don't know if it was like needing attention or something, and I had it as a pet for like 20-30 minutes, and then I bring it.
That's not very long.
I bring it to a person that sell glasses for windows,
Okay,
and
window glass.
I don't know what he did with the squirrel. Maybe let it go or something. But I had a pet squirrel for a few minutes.
I didn't know that.
It was very cute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never eaten them. So.
All right. I have some Haribo peaches candy. Oh, the okay. I Haribo. I don't know how to say that one. I know what you're talking about though.
Haribo.
The peach candy, the rings. Yeah, you're eating right now. It's not quite the same as a nice juicy peach. Truxby Warden says, Manuela, I'm sure you know more than you realize. Good to see you tonight. Absolutely, he knows more than he realized.
Good to see you guys.
He's learned a lot of stuff about plants and animals from being with me and living here, for sure. Yeah, you know more than you realize. I bet you could answer questions about all of the things here.
Well, I was not realizing that the fruit came from a
when he before we got together, this is what he's talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I grew up on a small town, and we grow corn. Since the corn, I don't remember having a flower before becoming a fruit. So I thought it was
Corn flour's a little different.
It was normal to have a fruit, and I didn't pay attention to the flowers because I think I was too young to pay attention to that. And now I know that everything comes out after the flower. So the flower becomes the fruit. And I asked my daughters, do you guys know that the fruit came from a flower? And they go like, yeah, that's how they come. That's how they get made because of the pollination and all that. And I go like, well, I guess I know that they know that, but I don't know if I knew that when I was younger and I forgot because I never grow things. But I think that's part of the process, learning and experiencing it. So yeah, I think I've been learning a lot of things about animals and plants here with Katrina. More about the the way to grow it, the soils and everything has a process and the right timing too. So I think I've been learning without knowing.
I think you have.
Yeah.
All right. Gary says that sounds good, Andy, about making mayo. Andy Rabbit says, I forgot more Spanish than I remember. I wish I remember it. My son-in-law speaks it. Yep.
That's good.
Andy says, I call that a lazy eater. I don't know what we're talking about anymore. It's okay. Base Place says, Manuel, I don't have any type of chicken products in my home. LOL. Since I have quail, I don't like chicken.
Oh.
Yeah, she just has quail. She doesn't need any chicken.
That's good. They're good.
Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, my 6-year-old granddaughter says she likes quail eggs over chicken eggs. I like quail eggs over chicken eggs as well, but I also like chicken eggs. So like it's not like I don't like them, but my first introduction to an egg that was not a chicken egg was duck eggs, and that is really good as well. Both duck eggs and quail eggs are richer than chicken eggs. I think just because the yolk there's more yolk to white ratio in both of those than there is in chickens. That's what I think. I actually had a client tell me that my quail eggs were sweet, which is interesting. Yeah. Steve says maybe the yolk to white ratio difference makes them tastier. That's exactly what I just said. And Steve says squirrel fried, yum. That's fine. That's fine. Andy Rabbit says I had a pet squirrel for 10 months. So 10 months is a little more than half an hour. And he is the reason I decided to get rabbits and quail again. Okay, cool.
So for the squirrels, where do you get the most meat out of the squirrels? Because I don't know if they have any meat at all. I think they're just a little tiny bone with a little bit of skin wrapped around and a lot of fur on it.
I'm gonna guess the legs.
Yeah.
Steve, let us know. Let us know where's the most meat on the squirrel. Andy Rabbit says, I also love fried squirrel. I made squirrel jerky once. It was good, but way, way too much work to do again. Oh, that's awesome, Katrina. He is willing to learn from you. Yep. Duck eggs doesn't seem to fry right. Taste rubbery when fried. Interesting. I didn't have that experience. Are you using fresh duck eggs? Interesting. The legs, yeah. Yep. That's what I would expect because they're jumpers.
Oh. So are they chewy, or is the meat soft enough, or how will you cook it
They both
to
said
make
fried.
it tender?
They both said fried. Mm-hmm.
Fry. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the most unusual animal that you've eaten?
I think it was deer.
Deer?
Deer.
Did you like it?
I think I'll probably like it better if it's cooked different, but my mom cook it usually with like tomato paste or soup. So I was not a big fan of that. I would prefer more like with the stew, like with a whole bunch of vegetables that I don't notice the meat that much, but that's the way they cook it because they have to dry it since it was a big deer when they went hunting. So they have to dry the meat so they can preserve it. So that's why it has to be done like that.
So it was dried meat that she was cooking with?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've had deer. I'm not really a fan, but I've had it, that was in the high desert eating sagebrush type stuff. I've had it cooked, but it was okay, but I've had it that's more gamey. I've also had elk, and probably the most unusual thing I've had is beaver. There was a person I knew in college that he trapped and ate everything that he trapped, and it was really good. Yeah. So Steve says front legs and shoulders. The hind legs is the best meat. You have to cook it like quail. If you overcook, they can get tough. Yeah. And Andy Rabbit says fry like chicken.
So would you eat any squirrel like here in town? We have a whole bunch of squirrels in front of the house. Will you just eat any squirrels, or they have to be from the forest where
You
they don't
can
get where they don't eat that much junk from here, like here, or
you can eat. Well, here they're fed on apple trees and fruit trees. um,
or whatever they can
the
find on the
only
street.
the only thing I would be concerned about is if someone had put out rat poison, because that can get into squirrels and then you can eat that. So that's the only thing I would be concerned about. We can see what they answer. Um, Base Play says most unusual animal I have eaten was muskrats, stringy but good flavor. Andy Rabbit says I always boil the squirrel a bit, then breaded it to fry. Use the water to make gravy. Okay. And Truck Three Warden says beaver is delicious. It was very good. I think he had crock potted it. Now I don't know what part it was. I don't think it was the tail. Andy Rapp says bear was pretty greasy. Yeah, I've not had that, but I've heard of that. And Steve says my Otis was possum, big and greasy. I would not think a possum would taste good. They are scavengers. Although the baby possums come through the yard at one point were fed on strawberries because they would get the strawberries right off. Like, oh, I'm gonna eat that tomorrow. Nope. um, Gary says, nighty night. All enjoyed tonight from North Carolina. Hopefully it won't be as long. Um, been busy, kind of tired. Till next time. Good night. Good night, Gary. We're on here really late. We're not usually here this late. It's good night.
Good night.
And Andy Rabbit says, yes, any squirrel. Steve says,
Sounds good.
beings we can't shoot in town. I've only had from the woods. You can trap, though.
What about with the BB gun?
That's shooting.
Well, that
It's still illegal.
illegal?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Andy Rabbit says, squirrel eat meat. Mine really love frog legs. Yeah, a lot of animals that you don't think of animals. And Gary says good night.
Night.
A lot of animals that you don't think of animals that eat meat actually do. I've seen jackrabbits scavenge road-killed jackrabbits, and I've seen some of those things. There's deer that are known to eat ground nesting birds, the nestlings or the eggs from the nest. And I think the thought is with that I read, could not be true, but I read is that they're pregnant and they need the extra protein. So I don't know if that's they only do it then or if it's something that just happens every once in a while, but something that's documented. Yeah. Steve says a more powerful pellet air gun would work, just very few in town. Squirrel look for bugs in nuts. Okay, yeah, they're protein. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the squirrels here are vindictive. My neighbor has had them put an apple on the top of her house with one bite out of it facing the door that she walks in. Yeah. And I've had them decapitate sunflowers and then pull them up the tree. There's sunflower heads with no seeds in them down below. Yeah, that's fun. We've also seen them on the fence. They eat the peaches and stuff. There's actually a squirrel planted peach tree along the fence line. I think it's from my neighbor's peach. It was sitting on there, and I'm sure that's what it is because there's no other way. I don't think the peach pit would get there. But yeah, it would sit there and watch me and eat peaches. Andy Rabbit says, "Oh my goodness, my dear loved Cheetos and McChickens." Interesting. Truck Three Warden says my sons killed red squirrels with slingshots on a dare from their dad. Then he had to roast them over the fire. Only did 2 until their dad said no more. Wow. Yeah. I think as long as you're eating it, I think it's fine. I think not. If you're just doing target practice, I don't think that's okay. I think it needs to have a purpose. So eating it, roasting it and eating it is good. Andy Rabbit says, if I came home with a McDonald's bag and didn't give him McChicken, he would tear the bag from my hand and sling it across the yard. You did say deer. Did you have a pet deer? Did I miss that? I must have missed that. Vindictive squirrels probably taste as good as aggressive squirrel. Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
The what?
A vindictive squirrel.
What is that?
One that's getting back at you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the hot Cheetos were hotter than he liked them. Oh my gosh. Cheetos are going everywhere. I don't understand. They're in what, sushi now? His daughter likes, I don't know what it's called. What do they call it?
Sushi rolls?
No, but the type. It's the hot Cheetos on it.
Oh, crab sushi rolls with hot Cheetos.
Oh, it doesn't have like a fancy name like Dragon Cheetos or something.
Oh yeah, they have.
That's what I'm saying.
They have names, but I don't know.
Oh, a pet deer. Awesome. Yeah, that's not legal here to have a pet deer, but yeah, there are deer sanctuaries and people that have permits for deer, like that people bring fawns to. Now, if you are it's not quite time for them to start having babies, but if you do find a baby deer and mom is not in sight, don't mess with it, because it will come back for it. They go for hours and hours and hours without having that. Another thing I've had is pronghorn. That was really good. Pronghorn's really good. Blessing to everyone. Time for me to head out. Yeah, it's almost time for us too. It's actually time. It's 8:30, isn't it? Good night, Verna. Thank you. Truck 3 Warden says red squirrels eat into sap bags and lines and get into attics. Their dad told them they couldn't hit one. Wow. Yeah, I have a friend that was redoing a room in her house and took the drywall off, and a whole bunch of acorns came through. So she had squirrels that were storing things in her house. Ed says, wow, you're Ed fell asleep. Yeah, we're about to go right here, Ed. So thanks for waking up to saying goodbye. Yeah, we got onto some good tangents. You might have to rewatch. Andy Rabbit said he would put his head in the bag of Cheetos and come up with a face full of cheese. Oh my gosh. Had 30 acres here and free. Oh, you hit his mom. That sucks. Yeah. But hey, at least you raised him. All right, guys, we're going to call it a night. And thanks for hanging out. Oh my gosh, we've been on here forever. This is definitely the longest live by far. But I had fun. Hopefully you had fun.
Yep.
Yeah, good. You guys got to talk to him a little bit. It hardly ever happens. Good night, all. Oh, 2 babies now, 2 hatched. Awesome, Andy. Awesome. All right. Good night, guys. We will see you later. Tomorrow's video is a harvest video, and then Thursday's video is going to be all about heat tolerant tomatoes. And we will see you next Monday. All right.
Good night.
Good night.